Well, breaking news coming in. The government is expected to submit names of 3 persons suspected of holding bank accounts in Switzerland. The government sources have told Headlines today the list features prominent businessman Pradip Burman, who is of the Dabur Group, names of the owners of Goa-based mining company Radha Timblo and Rajkot-based bullion trader Pankaj Lodhia are also on the list. The names are a part of an affidavit that the government will file in the apex court today. My colleague Brijesh Pandey now joins me for more on this story. Brijesh, 3 prominent businessmen featured in that additional affidavit that the government is going to be filing in the Supreme Court. Who are these people? And what has changed? In the past, the government cited the double taxation avoidance agreement of not revealing the names, but now seems to have changed its stance.
Well, these names have been accessed by us, and they have been accessed through our sources. It is the list in which these names are there will be submitted to the Supreme Court by the government, and
right.
These 3 names which are there are all prominent businessmen, especially Pradip Burman, who is owner of the famous Dabur Group.
Right.
So these people are there on the list, and as we've been reporting since yesterday that there are no politicians as of now on the list, which the finance minister had been hinting for a while that if the Congress continues to pursue the line that the BJP is scary of naming, and if BJP names the list,
right.
then it will be Congress which will embarrass. So as of now, there is no politicians who are on the list. There is a bullion trader and from Rajkot.
Right, Brijesh Pandey, stay on with us. Like Brijesh has been pointing out, as of now, no politicians, remember, on that list. Shaina NC of the BJP is also joining me for a perspective on this story. The government sources, Shaina, have told Headlines today that the list features prominent businessmen of the Dabur Group, a Goa-based mining company head and a bullion trader who are on the list. Your initial reaction to the fact that 3 prominent businessmen have been named in this additional affidavit?
See, the Honorable Supreme Court has clearly said that the names would be revealed as public document at the opportune time. Our Honorable Finance Minister did go on record to say that yes, we are the most proactive government that is working towards bringing black money back, but we are not going to use this as a case of political vendetta. We are going to establish that the evidence is used in the court by the prosecution, and then, of course, this comes into public domain. Now, you are questioning as to why 3 names are named, and in those 3 names there aren't any politicians. This is not up to the government of India. This is the way the case is proceeding, and I think that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There will be lots of names to follow. And if we were into shielding anyone, we would not have exposed any names at all, and we would have said that this is for the courts to decide. But now it is in public domain, and the case will proceed, and you must give it to the government of India that we are the only proactive government that made sure that the SIT is working.
Right.
And as a government, we are working overtime to ensure that all this illegal money is brought back to the good use of the country.
Right, but Shaina, the fact of the matter is that, while you may come out right now and say that there is no political vendetta that the government is playing, there has been an ugly war of words between the Congress and the BJP, with leaders from your party coming out and saying that the Congress will be left red-faced, and the Congress, in fact, lashing back at you, saying that the BJP government is, in fact, blackmailing the Congress.
Let me give you a counter question. If the names did have the names of Congress politicians, would you have then said, see, you are getting back at your and trying to use this as political vendetta? We are not. The point is the case is proceeding. The first names which have come out are of businessmen. Doesn't suggest that the next names to come are not going to be of politicians or anyone
right.
who is guilty. So please let the case disclose and let the law of the land uphold.
Right, Shaina, appreciate you joining us with that perspective. Deputy Editor Smita Shamra is now joining me live from the national capital. Smita, initially, the NDA government had cited what the UPA government had said on the black money issue, which is the double taxation avoidance agreement. What has exactly changed? And take us through this new list, this list of 3 names that has in fact been submitted by the government to the apex court.
Actually, that is the beauty of politics, that how governments change stands, do U-turns on initial positions and then take a completely different stand altogether. Right. So, we heard Mr. Arun Jaitley, in fact, talking to media houses just a couple of days back, in fact, and also saying that perhaps the names that would be provided to the Supreme Court in that additional affidavit would embarrass the opposition parties, to which Mr. Ajay Makan, Congress's leader, had reacted saying that, they should stop blackmailing us and not come out with partial lists, or not just sort of limit themselves to 126 individuals perhaps, but also go in and really reveal the names, because all throughout the election campaign this black money was a hot potato, this issue entirely being raised. Both, in fact, Rajnath Singh, then the BJP party president, had claimed that when his government would come to power, within 100 days they would reveal all names, and that that would add to some 15 lakh rupees of benefit to each citizen individually. But when the government came into power, of course, Mr. Modi's government, we saw them cite the double taxation avoidance agreement. Right. Now they say that they have some clearances from Switzerland governments, because remember, the central Swiss authorities, the bank associations, they had initially said that this would be it would be violating the laws that they really have and the agreements that they have with India. Now, of course, no political names so far, which Mr. Jaitley had hinted at, saying that there will not be political names really in the first affidavit that is being submitted. So we'll have to wait and see as to if they really come out with those political names as well that the BJP has now been tom-tomming about.
Well, absolutely. 3 prominent businessmen being named in that additional affidavit that the government has submitted to the Supreme Court. Remains to be seen whether political names will in fact be disclosed or not. Jaskirat Singh Bava is also joining me live from the national capital. Jaskirat, the other crucial question in this case is that, why have all the names not been revealed? Why have only 3 names been revealed? We are given to understand that these are the 3 names, these are the 3 people who will be prosecuted in the case, and that is why their names are in fact being revealed. But legally speaking, why can't all the names be revealed by the government?
The devil is in the detail over here, Rishika, and that's exactly the point over here. If you remember, the very reason this case came back into the limelight is because when the government asked the Supreme Court for a clarification, they said that we only want to reveal those names who are under prosecution and not just those who have been found to have had a questionable amount of black money in their foreign accounts. Right. This clarification will get an answer tomorrow. Tomorrow is when this case is listed for, and even today's affidavit will come up for consideration tomorrow. So that's when we will find out what is about this discrepancy between those who have been found to have had disproportionate amount of money or questionable amount of money in their foreign accounts, and those who have the government has gone ahead with the prosecution against. Right. For now, only 3 names in the affidavit, which is only minutes away from being filed in the Supreme Court officially as of now.
Right. I'd like to also bring in Deputy Editor Smita Sharma on this point. Smita, this is the other crucial question. Why have all names not been revealed? Why only the 3 names of, those who are likely to be prosecuted? What are you picking up from your sources in the government? Is it likely that all the names will perhaps be revealed anytime soon?
I don't know about all the names, but what the government here in its defense is trying to say, the sources that we speak to, is that, look, this is an affidavit that we are filing in the Supreme Court. There is always that route available for additional affidavits. So it's not like this is the end of the road. But initially, these are the names really for which, as per laws, they seem to say that they have the clearances for to be providing these names. Remember, this case has really been hogging the limelight since 2011, and there have been different estimates altogether of the total amount of Indian money that is really sort of illegally packed into Swiss banks.
Stay on with me. Renuka Chaudhary is joining me on the phone line for more. Renuka Chaudhary, your first reaction to the names, the 3 names that have in fact been revealed by the government to the Apex Court. This, of course, is a U-turn that the current government has made on the double taxation avoidance agreement. 3 businessmen named so far. The BJP claims that there are several, political personalities who are on the radar. Your first reaction?
I just think this is a very devious game that the BJP is playing, because on the one hand, they're conveniently disclosing the name. I think these gentlemen should actually sue the government, because they are doing it with the riders saying that no, it's not necessary that these people are offenders. So what was the purpose of doing this?
Right.
What is the signal they're trying to give the rest of the business community? I think it's a very dangerous double-edged game that the government is playing, and they're going to get into trouble because of it. By being over-smart. They're trying to act over-smart and they think they've got it all. So I don't think this can be respected, or there will be any credibility for this government if they continue conducting themselves.
Okay, Renuka Chaudhary, you're questioning the credibility of the government. You're calling them over smart, but a senior leader from your party, Ajay Markan, had in fact lashed out at the Prime Minister and the current government for saying that, the government has not done anything to bring back black money. But this really clearly is a first step wherein the government has submitted 3 names to the apex court and more will follow suit. So the government is in fact, taking action on the matter. So technically, you calling them devious or questioning their motives at this point in time is perhaps not justified.
No, certainly not. I am telling you that this government it's a farcical thing what they have done by disclosing these 3 names in the court. They're just playing to the gallery and there is no stuff to what they have done. And they will stand exposed very soon, let me tell you.
Right. Also, the government has said that the Congress party will be left red-faced. There are perhaps names of leaders from your party that are also on that list. What do you have to say to these allegations that are being leveled against the Congress party?
Tell them not to worry about the Congress party. Their whole national agenda seems to be the Congress party and nothing beyond that. So tell them not to worry about our red faces. Let them worry about their own red faces and their blue tongues that they talk about.
Right. Renuka Chaudhary, at this point in time, there are only 3 names that have been disclosed. These are the 3 people who are being prosecuted in the case. Do you think that the government should now come out and perhaps reveal names of all those who are on the radar? Why only select 3 names? Is this a question that the Congress party is going to be asking at all?
No, I'm asking you that they have released these 3 names even as they say a disclaimer saying that no, it's not necessary that they're offenders.
Right.
So that means they are trying to legally save themselves from the future if these people turn around and attack them.
All
this
right.
kind of selective disclosures that they are doing is very questionable. So we'll see how all this amounts to, and they can't get away with this farce for too long.
All right, Renuka Chaudhary, appreciate you joining us with that perspective. That was a voice from the Congress party clearly saying that there is no credibility in the government's finding. The government is in fact acting over smart and questioning the intentions of the government, saying that their intentions are in fact devious. This is a devious move that the government has made. I'd like to bring in Deputy Editor Smita Sharma, who's still live with us. Smita, you heard what Renuka Chaudhary had to say. She says that it is the NDA government that's acting devious and over smart on the issue of black money and in fact completely lacks substance. What do you make of this attack of the Congress party? All right, we're just going to try and reconnect that audio link with Smita, but you've heard voices from the Congress and the BJP. We had Shaina NC earlier come in and say that this is a welcome move by the government. The government is in fact living up to the promise that it had made during the election campaign. Meanwhile, in the same breath, the Congress comes out and lashes out at the government, questioning the motives of the government, clearly saying that the intentions of the current government in disclosing these 3 names are devious. Smita Sharma, Deputy Editor Headlines Today, is back with me. Smita, we just heard Renuka Chaudhary in fact given a reaction. It was the first reaction that has come in from the Congress party, questioning the motives of the government, saying that all of these revelations are in fact very devious. What do you make of the Congress coming out and calling the government over smart and devious?
As far as this reaction from Renuka Chaudhary is concerned, keeping in mind she's always been a very senior Congress leader, former union minister too, it doesn't surprise us really. There has been this long-standing, ongoing political war of words between the UPA and the NDA on this issue. In fact, last week, it's not just Renuka Chaudhary, but if you remember, even the senior lawyer Ram Jethmalani, who has also had close links with the BJP at one point, is a Rajya Sabha member, he had also slammed the Modi government for telling telling the court that, we cannot disclose the names of those who are holding those alleged illegal accounts in Swiss bank accounts, and he had called that ill-advised. So clearly, of course, the opposition parties will question the government's move now, that, what really has changed for you, and if things have changed on the ground, because initially the Indian government could not sort of really investigate into Swiss accounts. In 2010, they entered into a fresh, they revised the double taxation avoidance agreement, which came into effect in January of 2012, which allowed Indian companies to at least inquire of names that were holding these accounts. But could they make them sort of public or take them to court? Was another grey area in that agreement, really? So there will be questions that will be raised to the current government.
Well, absolutely, Smita. That's a really crucial point that you have, in fact, raised. Stay on with us. We're going to talk a little more about that. But remember, prominent businessman Pradip Burman, Goa-based mining company head Radha Timblo, and Rajkot-based bullion leader Pankaj Lodhia are in fact on that list. Now, Congress leader Sandeep Dixit has in fact given in a reaction saying that these are three names that the UPA government had already disclosed. Listen in.
Have not been paid for these for the amounts which are there in those accounts.
See, from whatever I recollect, all these three names already came out earlier. In fact, I remember Mr. Burman at some time denying and saying that his accounts externally are legitimate. But that's the whole thing. These are all names that were extricated by the UPA government. And then there is a process. The process is that you have to first establish that there is tax evasion or black money in these accounts. And once you can establish that, then you start a process of prosecution or investigation and then prosecution, and then those names can be released. So actually what the NDA government has done is just continuing the process of what UP has done, and there is nothing particularly new. But I'm only concerned as to why when this government claimed that all names will come out, everything will be out in about 100 days, it's only managed to get out those three names which had come out previously by efforts of the UPA government. And this whole process of selective leakage of names seems to be very suspicious. If you have a large list, why isn't the entire list being investigated, or why aren't those details known? And when government hides certain things and does not and displays certain names, then one gets very suspicious as to what are the motives of the government.
This is exactly as you were saying. One of the things that was being spoken about, being speculated the last few days, was that several names from the UPA government, particularly one minister from the UPA government, his or her name would figure in this names that would be released as far as this black money list is concerned.
All right, I'd like to go back to Deputy Editor Smita Sharma, who's live with us. Smita, you heard Sandeep Dixit. He has in fact come out and said that these are three names that were already extricated by the UPA government. So essentially what the NDA government is now doing is just taking that forward. But he's also raising a very important question, which is what we've been talking about, is that why only these select three names have in fact been disclosed when the government had promised that in the first 100 days it will give out the entire list of names.
See, absolutely, Rishika. I think somewhere Sandeep Dixit would be justified in raising those questions, because as I was just mentioning, that it's unlike popular perceptions, or contrary to what really the NDA government tried painting it during its electoral campaign days, that the UPA was just sitting on this black money issue, and there were like billions to $1 trillion of Indian rupees illegally stashed in Swiss accounts. Now, remember, as I just mentioned, the double taxation avoidance agreement, in fact, initially it didn't allow for Indian government to investigate at all. This was revised by the UPA government in 2010.
All right, the big question at this point in time is that why have all the names not been revealed? Why only the three names of those being prosecuted in the case have been revealed? Remember, government sources confirming to Headlines Today that the list features prominent businessman Pradip Burman of the Dabur Group, names also the owner of a Goa-based mining company, Radha Timblo, and a Rajkot-based bullion trader, Pankaj Lodhia. These are the three names that have in fact been submitted in the affidavit that the government has submitted to the apex court. Smita Sharma and Jaskirat Singh Bava are going to continue to track developments on this story. All right, continuing coverage of the big story that we're tracking. Three prominent business personalities have in fact been named in the affidavit that the government has submitted to the apex court. Dabur has in fact released a press note. It says, and I quote, "We wish to state that this account was opened when he was an NRI and was legally allowed to open this account. It is very unfortunate that every person having an account overseas is being painted with the same brush." This is in fact the statement that has been revealed by Dabur. My colleague Ashish Maharshi is joining me on the phone line for more. Ashish, Dabur has come out with a clarification saying that this account was in fact opened when Pradip Burman was an NRI. He was at that point in time legally allowed to do so. So all foreign accounts are now being painted in the same brush.
Very true. In fact, this is if this comes out to be true, then it is going to certainly put the government on the back foot, because as far as NRIs are concerned, they are certainly allowed to open account, and they don't come under the purview of the double taxation avoidance agreement or the tax information exchange agreement that has been signed by Indian authorities with Swiss authorities or any other tax haven.
Right.
So certainly, if it is true, it will certainly put the government on the back foot. But as far as NRIs are concerned, and if it is found to be true that Pradip Burman at that point of time was NRI, he was certainly allowed to do so. But then it is a matter of litigation. Prosecution has been raised by the government of India. The matter is in the court now, and it has been informed to the Supreme Court about it, because there is a SIT and there is a time-bound investigation through which the entire government has to investigate and bring the black money names in front of the court. But yes, now if it is true that that Pradip Burman is an NRI and he was allowed to do so, this will certainly put the government on the back foot.
Well, absolutely. This does definitely put the government on the black foot. Clearly, several questions that the government is going to have to answer. Remember, Pradip Burman is the executive, is a senior executive in Dabur. He's a prominent businessman, and he has been named as one of the 3 prominent businessmen been named by the government in that affidavit submitted to the Supreme Court. Dabur has now issued a clarification saying that Pradip Burman opened this bank account while he was an NRI and at that point in time was legally allowed to do so, clearly questioning the government as to why all those with overseas accounts are now being painted with the same brush. Now, the Congress party has, remember, come out and lashed out at the government, saying that the intentions of the government are devious. Sandeep Dixit questioning why only 3 names have been released. Ashar Ahmed Khan is joining me live from the national capital. Ashar, we heard Sandeep Dixit a short while ago saying that these are 3 names that had been extricated by the UPA, and the NDA is only taking that forward, also questioning why only 3 names have been released and why not the entire list.
Well, the Congress party making 3 specific points. First of all, what is the intent of the government? Why are these selective leaks happening?
Right.
Secondly, what happened to the promise that the NDA government will get back black money in 100 days?
Right.
And third, that why is it only pursuing the policy which was set in motion by the UPA government? If it thinks that the UPA government was not doing the right thing, why is it following the same policy? So the Congress taking on the government and trying to ask them that why not they are revealing complete names which are there as far as people who have black money is concerned. And secondly, also attacking the government, saying that during the election campaign the BJP was attacking the UPA government, saying that it was doing nothing to get back the black money or the names of people who have black money, but now they are following the same path. So that is what the Congress party is stating.
Right, the Congress party there coming out and questioning the intent of those selective leaks, also questioning why the government has not lived up to the 100-day promise. Well, we're going to continue to track developments on this story very closely. Jaskirat Singh Bawa, Smita Sharma and Ashar Ahmed Khan are going to continue to be live with us.